China is investing unprecedented amounts into its military modernization program, with its goal being to build a world-class fighting force capable of projecting power globally by 2049. And that goal may be more important now than it's been since the founding of the People's Republic. With territorial disputes in the South China Sea intensifying, growing tensions over Taiwan, and strategic competition with the United States reaching new heights, China needs to demonstrate its strength. Which brings us to the question that we'll answer in this video: just how powerful is China's military in 2025? To get some of our answers, we turn to Global Firepower, or GFP. Each year, GFP compiles rankings of 145 military nations, assigning each with what it calls a PRIND score. The goal with this score is to get as low as possible, with a PRINdex of 0 being considered the perfect military. GFP ranks China as the third most powerful military globally, with a rating of 0.706 as of the latest data, just behind the United States and Russia. What does that mean in practice? We'll start with manpower. China has a population of approximately 1.4 billion people according to GFP. That places it first in the world, ahead of India and making it roughly 4 times larger than the United States. That population translates into an estimated 621.9 million people who GFP claims are fit for service, with a further 19.6 million reaching military age every year. In short, China has hundreds of millions of people who could serve as part of its military, even if they don't currently. Granted, it's unlikely that China would ever need to mobilize such vast numbers. However, China is also a country with mandatory military service for its male citizens, though the policy is selectively enforced. The People's Liberation Army, PLA, has relied on this system since its founding, ensuring a steady stream of recruits. Of course, conscription is only part of the story. China's armed forces have become increasingly professional over the last 3 decades. According to GFP, China's active military personnel number 2.035 million, including reservists, 510,000, and paramilitary forces, 624,000. The total uniformed strength reaches approximately 2.8 million. This places China second in the world for active personnel, with only India having more troops in uniform. So China has one of the largest militaries in the world in terms of sheer manpower. However, there's an aspect of manpower that hasn't been mentioned yet: equipping soldiers. In 2021, the American Enterprise Institute, or AEI, reported that an entry-level soldier in China's People's Liberation Army receives just $108 per month. That's about a 16th of the $1,900 their American counterparts receive. While this disparity is partly due to different costs of living, it still reflects China's approach to military spending, prioritizing equipment and modernization over individual soldier compensation. China is also dealing with an important shift in its recruitment approach. Moving away from a purely conscript-based mass army, the PLA now emphasizes attracting and retaining more highly skilled personnel, especially for technical roles in the Navy, Air Force, and cyber/space units. This reflects the evolving nature of warfare and China's ambitions to field a more technologically advanced military force. We move on to land forces. GFP's figures show that China is formidable in this department. For instance, it has an estimated 5,250 tanks, placing it fourth in the world behind Russia, North Korea, and the United States. It's also second in the world for self-propelled artillery, with 4,120 units, along with being first for towed artillery, of which it has an estimated 1,734 units. China also maintains 206,000 armored fighting vehicles, placing it second behind the United States in this category. A powerful collection of land forces for sure, but there are caveats at play here. For instance, while China has an impressive number of tanks, a significant portion of its fleet still consists of older models like the Type 59, a Chinese version of the Soviet T-54 55s. However, China has been rapidly modernizing its tank force, with the Type 99A now forming the backbone of its modern armored units. This third-generation main battle tank features advanced fire control systems, composite armor, and an active protection system, making it comparable to Russia's T-90 and America's M1A2 Abrams in many respects. There's also another factor at play, which is China's emphasis on area denial capabilities. Unlike the United States, which builds its forces for global power projection, China has focused much of its strategy on being able to deny access to its immediate sphere of influence, particularly the South China Sea and Taiwan Strait. This approach means China doesn't need the same type of expeditionary ground forces that the US maintains, as its primary military objectives are regional rather than global. And that brings us to China's aerial power. In sheer numbers alone, China doesn't quite come out on top, but it has made remarkable progress. GFP says China has approximately 3,380 aircraft, of which around 1,200 are fighter jets and 371 are attack-type crafts. It ranks third globally in total aircraft numbers, behind the United States and Russia. China also has 334 transport aircraft, 120 special mission aircraft, 911 helicopters, and 281 attack helicopters. While these numbers put China behind the US in every category, they represent a massive leap forward from where the People's Liberation Army Air Force, PLAAF, was just 2 decades ago. It's also worth mentioning China's 10 tanker aircraft, which are used to refuel planes while they're still in the sky. China operates the indigenous H-6U tanker, as well as the newer I-20U variant based on its I-20 strategic transport. While limited in number compared to the United States fleet of over 600 tankers, these aircraft represent China's growing focus on extending the range of its air power. Why do these tankers matter? In a word, range. With the capability to refuel in the sky comes the ability to keep planes in the air for longer. We can look to the South China Sea for an example of why this is important. Over the last several years, China has been building man-made islands, which it is militarizing as forward operating bases for its aircraft. These bases, combined with its small but growing tanker fleet, are designed to extend China's aerial reach throughout its claimed territories. Sticking with aerial power, there's also the equipment factor that comes into play. China is heavily pushing the Chengdu J-20 as its answer to America's F-35. The J-20 is China's first fifth-generation fighter aircraft, featuring stealth capabilities, advanced avionics, and supercruise capability. While China claims the J-20 is fully operational, Western analysts believe it's still working through engine reliability issues, with China continuing to rely on Russian engines for some variants. China is also developing unmanned aerial vehicles at a rapid pace. Its Winglong and CH-series drones have been exported to multiple countries and have seen combat use in various conflicts around the world. The GJ-11 Sharp Sword, a stealth combat drone, represents China's push toward next-generation unmanned systems that could potentially operate from aircraft carriers. Next up, China's Navy. Based on the numbers alone, it seems like China has made remarkable progress. While China has approximately 730 vessels, which numerically puts it ahead of the United States but behind Russia, it's important to note that this count includes many smaller craft and patrol boats. The composition of these fleets tells a more nuanced story about their respective capabilities. China has 3 aircraft carriers, the Liaoning, Shandong, and Fujian, compared to America's 11. Its Fujian, launched in 2022, features an electromagnetic catapult system similar to the U.S. Navy's newest Ford-class carriers, though it's still undergoing sea trials. China has 50 destroyer warships, placing it second in that department, and 49 frigates, ranking it third globally. The country's 79 submarines place it third in that category as well, behind North Korea and Russia. Where China excels is in its number of patrol vessels. It has 195 of them, the most in the world. But therein lies the secret to understanding China's naval power. It's not trying to build an exact replica of the U.S. Navy. Instead, it's focused on what military analysts call a counter-intervention strategy, with an emphasis on submarines, missile-equipped destroyers, and numerous smaller vessels suited for operations in the Taiwan Strait and South China Sea. In terms of water displacement, the measure of the amount of water a ship displaces, China still lags significantly behind the United States. According to a 2021 Forbes article, China's Navy displaces around 2 million tons of water, less than half of America's 4.5 million tons. This matters because it indicates that China's fleet, while numerically large, includes many smaller vessels rather than the massive capital ships that form the backbone of the U.S. Navy. The displacement is growing, though. China has been launching new warships at an unprecedented rate. In 2023 alone, China added an estimated 93,567 tons to its naval displacement, nearly twice what the United States added in the same year. The plan? People's Liberation Army Navy commissioned new Type 055 destroyers, among the largest and most advanced destroyers in the world, as well as Type 075 amphibious assault ships comparable to America's WASP-class vessels. In simple terms, China's Navy may not have the most powerful ships, but it has been rapidly closing the gap and has built a force specifically designed for its regional objectives. It also benefits from having the world's largest Coast Guard and maritime militia, civilian vessels that can be called upon in times of conflict, creating a layered maritime capability that extends beyond its formal navy. So far, China's military is in a very strong position. Its second in sheer manpower, has formidable land forces, a rapidly modernizing air force, and the world's largest navy by ship count. However, there's an aspect of China's military strength that often goes underestimated but may actually be the key to its achieving victory: home field advantage and integrated capabilities. Unlike the United States, which must project power across oceans to reach potential conflict zones in Asia, China's primary security concerns are on its doorstep. This geographical reality means China can concentrate its forces, simplify its logistics, and utilize land-based systems that don't need to be deployed on ships or aircraft. For instance, China maintains the world's largest arsenal of land-based cruise and ballistic missiles, weapons that the U.S. was restricted from developing until recently due to the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. China has also developed what defense analysts call anti-access/area denial, (A2/AD) capabilities. These include advanced anti-ship ballistic missiles like the DF-21D and DF-26, often referred to as carrier killers, which are designed to target American aircraft carriers at distances up to 4,000 kilometers. Combined with sophisticated radar systems, satellites, and electronic warfare capabilities, these weapons create a formidable barrier to any potential intervention near China's shores. China's nuclear arsenal is also a crucial component of its overall military power and deterrent capability. As one of the 5 officially recognized nuclear weapon states under the Non-Proliferation Treaty, China maintains a no-first-use policy, though some analysts question whether this would hold in all scenarios. China is currently engaged in a significant expansion of its nuclear forces, building hundreds of new missile silos and developing all 3 legs of the nuclear triad: land-based ICBMs, submarine-launched ballistic missiles, and air-delivered weapons. While its arsenal of approximately 400 warheads is still far smaller than those of the United States and Russia, the ongoing modernization represents a substantial increase in China's strategic deterrent. Space is another domain where China has made remarkable progress. The PLA Strategic Support Force operates a growing constellation of intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance (ISR) satellites, as well as the Beidou navigation system, China's answer to GPS. China has also demonstrated anti-satellite (ASAT) capabilities, successfully destroying one of its own satellites in 2007. These space-based assets are integral to China's A2/AD strategy, providing the targeting data needed for its long-range precision strike weapons. China's cyber warfare capabilities are equally formidable. Units within the PLA Strategic Support Force are believed to be capable of sophisticated cyber espionage and potentially offensive cyber operations against critical infrastructure and military command and control systems. In a conflict scenario, these capabilities could be used to disrupt an adversary's ability to coordinate forces and respond effectively. Finally, there's China's integration of military and civilian resources under its military-civil fusion strategy. This approach seeks to ensure that technological innovations from China's booming private sector can be quickly adapted for military use, while also ensuring that civilian infrastructure, from ports to railways, can support military operations if needed. While there's no denying that China's military is strong, perhaps even as strong as it's ever been in the modern era, there are a handful of issues that could diminish its strength. Key among those is experience. Unlike the United States, which has been involved in continuous combat operations for decades, China's military hasn't fought a major war since the 1979 border conflict with Vietnam. This lack of combat experience means that despite all its modern equipment and training exercises, the PLA remains untested in modern warfare. The PLA is aware of this limitation and has been increasing the complexity and realism of its training exercises. It also closely studies other conflicts around the world, including the ongoing war in Ukraine, to learn lessons that could be applied to its own operations. However, there remains a significant gap between training and actual combat experience. Another challenge is military professionalism. Although China has made significant strides in professionalizing its forces, it still struggles with issues like corruption and political reliability. The Chinese Communist Party maintains tight control over the military through its political work department, which ensures loyalty but can sometimes interfere with merit-based advancement and operational effectiveness. There's also the matter of joint operations. While China has reorganized its military into theater commands to better facilitate coordination between services, it still lags behind the United States in its ability to conduct complex joint operations involving multiple branches. The PLA has recognized this weakness and has been conducting increasingly complex joint exercises, but developing true interoperability takes time and experience that China's military largely lacks. China also faces demographic challenges. Its one-child policy, though now abolished, has created a shrinking pool of military-age citizens. Additionally, as China's economy has developed, fewer young people are interested in military service, preferring higher-paying jobs in the private sector. This could potentially hinder recruitment efforts in the future. Finally, China's global power projection capabilities, while growing, remain limited compared to the United States. Despite the construction of its first overseas military base in Djibouti and efforts to secure access to ports around the world, China lacks the extensive network of bases that allows the U.S. to sustain operations globally. Its strategic airlift and sealift capabilities, though improving with aircraft like the I-20 transport and new replenishment ships, still lag behind American capabilities for sustained long-distance operations. So there are issues that China needs to figure out in terms of how it manages its military experience, professionalism, and recruitment. However, that doesn't change the fact that the country now has the world's second or third most powerful military, depending on how you measure it. Global firepower certainly seems to think so, noting that China has a rapidly modernizing force with impressive numbers in practically every category. Its military is particularly strong in its immediate region, where it can leverage geographic advantages, land-based systems, and concentrated forces. Through continued investment and modernization, China has transformed its once outdated military into a formidable force that can increasingly challenge American military supremacy in Asia. But now we want to hear your opinions. Is there any aspect of China's military strength that we've missed that you believe should be covered? Will China be able to maintain the rapid modernization it has shown over the past 2 decades, or will internal challenges and international pressures slow its military development? Tell us what you think below, and thank you for watching this video.